In this video, we're going to be talking about how to use R to create our own custom functions. Alright, so I have some code here already. This function down at the bottom that we've already defined, I'll get to that in a little bit. I'll first start out with just kind of a very simple function just to show how it all works. Alright, so when we define custom functions, what we're doing is we're basically saying we want to do a certain set of actions a lot of times, and we just want an easy way to do this. We want to be able to do a series of actions a lot of times, and so that we don't have to copy and paste the same code over and over again. We just want to basically have one little function that does this process for us automatically. So this is very similar to like the mean function that we've already used. That's part of the base R package. We don't want to have to manually add together all the numbers and divide by the number of numbers. Instead, what we do is we just use that mean function to kind of do that process automatically. All right, so let's kind of create our own function. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a function called squarer. And this is just going to take the square of a number, square the number. So if it's 2, it should output 4. If it's 4, it should output 16, and so on. This isn't super useful. It'd probably be easier just to, square the number yourself, but, just to show an example. So what we do is first we have the name of the function, right? So squarer, that's the function that we're going to be calling. Then we use the word function, and then inside these little parentheses, we put in the arguments. Basically, what do we want to pass to this function to get some sort of output? I'm just going to put here x for now. And then I do this open curly braces and then press enter. Now this should kind of do this sort of indenting automatically for you if you're working in a Jupyter notebook or a lot of other kind of IDEs, other places where you can write code do this automatically for you. For example, if you're working in RStudio, it does it for you automatically as well. And basically this is just to make it easier to see. And essentially what you're going to be doing is defining what that function does within these curly braces. Right? So everything that is within these curly braces, that's part of the function. All right, so what we're going to be doing here is just squaring x and then basically outputting the value that comes out. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put y equals x to the second power. Now I'm basically defining a new variable y, and I'm squaring x to get y. All right. And then I need to define what I want to output. So I do return y. Now what this does is it takes in the x value, whatever x that you define when you call this function, squares that value, assigns it to y, and then it returns y. So if I give it the number 4, it's going to take 4. It's going to basically say x equals 4. Well, 4 squared is 16. It's going to assign that to y, and then it's going to return y, which is 16, and it should output 16. All right, so I'll run this, and then let's try it out. Square 4, and the output is 16. Right. Now let's kind of talk about this function that I've defined a little bit below here. And so this is a little bit more complicated, but if you take it piece by piece, it's actually not that much more complicated. Essentially what I'm doing here is these first 3 lines of this function. What I'm doing is I am defining the URL that we're going to be using to access the CSV files. Okay. Now, no matter which year that we want to get for the California WAC data, this first part is always going to be the same. Now, depending on which year we want to pull for the data, we might have to kind of adjust the rest of the URL. And so what this str underscore replace underscore all is doing is it's just kind of making a way so that we can edit the string to input whatever year we want. So it takes this string that I have highlighted right here, and wherever it says the year on all caps, as I've defined here, it's going to check for this string year. So just wherever it's here, I'm going to replace it with the year that I've defined in the arguments. Right? So I have year right here. So you might give it 2015. Then it's going to, this str replace all is going to say, I'm going to take this string, this long string, look for where there's the year in all caps, and replace it with this third argument, this as.character year. So if I put in 2015 as the year, it's going to change that to 2015 as a character, and then look for year in all caps within this first long string, and then put in 2015 wherever there is a year in all caps. And then what I do is I paste these two strings together, the base URL and the file specs. And this sep equals and then the quotes, that just means that I want there to be a separation of nothing between them. So they should be pasted exactly. So basically, if you were to run this function, this file name is really what you're trying to get at. I want to get this URL file name, and then I can use the read CSV function in order to get that CSV file as a data frame and then return that. And so if I were to run this function, I could do get CAWAC, and let's do 2015. And what it'll output is a data frame. It'll first construct that URL using these strings, and then it'll basically use that URL in order to pull the CSV from that URL. Now, just to kind of show what's going on, I'm going to add a little print file name here, and this will print the file name that we construct. So these three lines at the very beginning, the base URL, file specs, file name, all that was just to get that URL basically constructed, right? So what we're doing is we're replacing this all caps year with 2015 because we defined 2015 here. So it's going to set year equals 2015. That year is defined over here as that character 2015. Then it searches for the all caps year and replaces it with 2015.